Master, you've been investing a lot of time in making this set of DVDs. I thought it may be helpful for Abhyasis if you could give an introduction, a short introduction to this nearly 20-hour DVD that we have recorded.
Like every delivery has a long period of gestation. My deliveries too have been preceded by long periods of gestation, if I may say so. Because nearing, I won't say the end, but nearing the end of my faculties to convey what I have learned from my master, from my own experiences, meager as they may have been. I was desirous of leaving something for others to learn from. And even though I have spoken over the last 25 years, I have found that when we speak, often what we say falls on deaf ears, most of them at least, and some few fall on ears which are willing to hear but don't understand, see. And if at all there is one or two who have heard, understood and digested, that would surely be the recompense for a long life, in which I have set myself to convey the teachings of my master, the experiences he gave me. So that was perhaps the primary reason.
The motivation behind it.
The motivation was always there, but the need to do it, before I became unable to say anything. In the human condition, we often lose our enthusiasm when what we say fall on deaf ears. So I didn't want to speak. I did want to speak while my enthusiasm is still, alive, and there's a spark of it for others to light their lamps from. So it is in a sense a desire to share the riches that I have earned and that I have enjoyed and that I have received with all those who are willing to listen to these talks. I must be excused because I never thought I was so voluble and that would go into 20 hours of recording. Part of it is because of the garrulousness of an old man, and part of it is the need to repeat. Because most of you would have read in the messages of my master, published in Whispers, Babuji speaks again and again of the need to repeat. He admonishes the person who received the messages, who I presume said, "You are repeating yourself," to Babuji Maharaj. He said, good things need to be repeated. What he left unsaid was what he said to me many years back in Shahjahanpur. You see a picture of that here. When he said bad things should never be repeated. Now human life, human purposefulness, human endeavor is all apparently, bent upon repeating that which must not be repeated and forgetting that which must be repeated again and again. So these talks, for which we claim no merit or any depth of substance, perhaps if heard again and again, will make some impact on the hearts of Abhyasis, because the minds have no depth. The mind is like, the surface of a pond, which is ruffled temporarily by a passing wind, and then it is calm again like a mill pond. That is not to be trusted. It leaves no impression. Whereas if you see some of the geological specimens called fossils from old times, millennia ago, one can still see the waves of the ocean on limestone, sandstone deposits. Because what man cannot fix in his mind with all the best will in the world, nature can fix. And therefore we have the vestiges of past civilizations, past existences, from which we can deduce the history of life on earth, the lives of saints, the species that have lived here on earth, their effect on our surroundings, and from which we can garner that size alone was not enough, because as I was discussing with Santosh Srinivasan this morning, nature has tried every possible combination. Good brains in enormous bodies like the dinosaurs, the mastodon, you see, where a message from the end of a limb took time to reach the brain and took equal time, if not more, to be able to convey the activity necessary. So that species died out. Nature continues to play with all that it can possibly play. And sometimes, in one of my humbler moods, because everybody knows that I'm not a humble man, in one of my humbler moods, I thought, perhaps even human beings are merely an experiment. Let us try this. And because we think it is the last of a series of experiments, we make the mistake of thinking that we are at the cutting edge of that evolution, and that the human is all. From that arises our arrogance, our pride in being merely human beings, because unless the human being shows the potential that is entrapped within him, or should I say encapsulated within him, and brings it out in his actions, in his thoughts, in such a way that the past has no more any existence for him and the future is all, perhaps there will be another experiment with a modified form of a human being, or a better improved form of a human being. And who knows, but we may all be there too.
To watch that happen.
No, to watch that happen, not knowing that we were part of it in an earlier scenario. So Babuji says, up till now we are the highest. There is no doubt about that. But we cannot be sure that we are at the top of the class always. So he says, endeavor to be at the cutting edge always, and however long the spear may extend, you are the tip of the spear. Or to put it in another way, like Einstein, the great scientist, used to imagine, if you are sitting in the front of a light wave, what would you see, what would you be? So ours is a spiritual endeavor with the same purpose that Einstein imagined. His was related to the intellect, the magnificence of which was known even in his time or even before that, as we see in the lives of people, giants like Leonardo da Vinci, Einstein himself, and greater minds which have not been named specifically in our Indian Vedas, in the lives of saints. The thrust being eternally the same, the conquest of the self. Because the self is what impedes our progress. When the self refers to this corporeal self, forgetting that the self, the true self, the self of which the Vedas and the Upanishads speak, is the inner self, the Atman, the soul, awaiting liberation from an entrapment, who knows when it began. But that urge to get oneself released from that entrapment in any condition, whether it was animal condition, insect condition, reptile condition, and now a human condition, that urge has remained. And Babuji Maharaj used to say, put in modern parlance, thank heavens that it is still there, because it brings you, it is what has brought all of you here. Without that, you wouldn't be here. So you would be leading a bohemian life, thinking that you are enjoying yourself when you are destroying yourself, thinking when you are happy when you are just being miserable and trying to hide that miserable condition in something out external to yourself. Because all happiness, all felicity, all contentment has to come from within, not from outside. Therefore, he used to repeat, look within, look within, look within. Outside, everything you see may appear beautiful. Sometimes it may appear horrible. Sometimes it may be death. Sometimes it may be life. But all is ephemeral. There for you to see as long as you are alive. Not there when you are not. So that is the way in which, I was brought to this series of talks.
Okay.
I can't say I felt like speaking. It happened to see out of an inexpressible inner need to say something from my conviction after a 40-year life of spiritual practice and endeavor under the umbrella of my master and his teaching and his grace and his love, his protection, to sort of reassure people that these will always be with you. So these talks are sort of set there before you to remind you. In a moment of need, somebody may be tempted or impelled to take out one of the discs and play it. And something will come from that which may reactivate it. Because teachings are like the matches in a matchbox. Nothing comes first, nothing comes last. The last one is there because you have exhausted the other ones, not because it was meant to be the last. It could have been the first if you had by accident taken that particular matchstick. So people sometimes ask, where do your teachings begin and where will they end? Some people have said they begin now and they will end when you are liberated. That is, in a spiritual sense, a verity, a truth. But for me, the truth of the matter is that when you need, you pick out. And it is not an accident that you always pick out that which you needed at that moment. So I wish all my sisters and brothers that they will keep these like a set of matches, even in modern 5-star hotels, even in America, where power failure is almost unknown. You generally find a candle and a matchbox in a drawer of the dressing table. Perchance there will be darkness and you will need light. So I think that is all that I have to say about this question.
When people do various things and they come into Sahajman, often people think that just doing the sadhana, just doing the practice is enough. What is it that you feel that they need more than sadhana, that they can derive from works like this?
The answer can only be, and I want to emphasize, there's only one answer possible, that in all these endeavors, the time they put in, they leave the heart behind at home. They don't have the heart with them in Sahajman. Because the human heart, is always divided. Not because the heart is divisible. The heart can never be divided. But we compartmentalize it. This for the family, this for friends, this for my job, and so on, you see. And therefore, as my master used to say again and again, therefore we are not happy, we are not content, and we are never really successful in dealing with life. Because we are but giving a portion of our heart to each,
anything we do.
to anything we do. They are sort of peremptory activities, forced activities in which we don't want to involve ourselves. So he said, whatever you're doing, put your heart into it at that moment, full heart. So we don't say, you know, put your full heart only in Sahaj Bhag. If you put your heart, for instance, in your studies when you are young, it ensures a better future than if you don't. Because I know people who have been at the top of their class who in their life came to nothing. I know mediocre students who are at the top of their professions. So it is a question of attention that we have to, not what position we ascribe to each activity. This is more important than this. That is false. It's like choosing one matchstick because this is the one I need. And you're out in the open and you need to light a candle and the wind blows it out before you can even,
Right.
Yes. And there goes your best match. And that brings a despondency in you. You say, I've lost my best match. You know, I once read a story about a man in a desert somewhere in the US. And he lost his way. And he was struggling, to keep alive until he could get some water to drink. When he saw one single strand of wire stretched across the sea. And he knew it was the telegraph of those days passing through the desert. He also knew that every 20 miles there was a telegraph post where there were riders waiting to repair if the wire was cut. No, he couldn't decide whether to walk to his right or to his left because he may be just next to the post on the left and have to walk 20 miles to the right. So he got the brilliant idea of cutting that wire with his gun, one shot. He had 3 bullets. He fired one, it missed. Because he was so thirsty, his eyes were, not able to perceive properly. He saw 2 eyes, 3 eyes dancing before him. He took a little rest, shook his head a little, wiped the tears from his eyes, took a second shot, it missed. He had just 1 shot left. And he was afraid to use it, It's like a man in a desert with the wind blowing and 1 candle and a single matchstick. If I am not able to light my candle with this matchstick, I will die here, But after a 20-minute wait, agonizing wait for himself, he shot and he snapped the wire and he fainted. Next he found himself in a hospital. So often we wait till we come to the last matchstick or the last bullet or the last moment of life. That's why in the Indian Vedic tradition they say, name your children after the gods and goddesses. Because at the last moment, you call your son, Krishna, Govinda, Madhva, whatever, and God will come. It's a desperate hope. But a hope to take you beyond despair. Because at that moment, that is what you need. It's hope that you need, not faith or belief. Hope. So these talks of mine, however mundane, however featureless, they lack the, the charisma of Babuji Maharaj, his presence. But yet the teaching, is what matters. Like whether a matchbox is one of the Indian ones made of, paper and stuff, or it's one of those nice matchstick folders you get in 5-star hotels. The matchstick, that which has to burn, is but phosphorus and stuff like that, pungent, poisonous. Yet that is what can strike the light when you most need it. Because when you have torches, like you see in some of these movies, torches here, torches here, torches here, torches here, and they seem to burn almost eternally. You don't need matchsticks. The matchstick is the only thing that can give you light where no light is possible. See? And therefore we hold dearly on to matchsticks even in this modern age. That is why, as I said, you find even in the best hotels, in the best cities, in the best countries of this world, that humble candle and 1 matchstick, even today, it is a buffer between you and the ultimate darkness when all else fails.
It's a very nice explanation. how a teaching can prevent you from going to.
Yes. So, anything else, if you want to ask, I may try to answer.
In your moments of despair, in your moments where you feel very low, either now or maybe during your Abhyasi days, pre-master days, what was it inside Sahaj Marg that inspired you to continue?
You see, in the beginning, the deterrent is our imagined difficulty over the path of spiritual life. We are conditioned by so many stories of mendicants, of saints, of those who run away from life. The horrors they face, the snakes in the jungle, the tigers, the lions, having to live without water. That goes to leave some confidence that yes, I may sit in meditation and like the young Prahlad, a lion may brush past me. But because I am so deep in this consciousness of my inner self, that brushing has no impact on me. The lion does not devour me because it sees no resistance in me, no reaction. I am like a rock.